My name is Daniel Carter, 37 years old, long-haul truck driver. I've spent most of my life behind the wheel, rolling across the endless highways of the United States. Not everyone can handle this job. Sleepless nights, irregular meals, constant fatigue, risks, and sometimes things people don't even dare to speak of. I've seen horrific crashes, helped lost travelers reach safety, even called the cops when something didn't feel right. But never once had I truly felt fear until that night. It was an early October day. I was assigned to transport a shipment from Kansas to a warehouse in Bakersfield, California. The route would take about 3 days if everything went smoothly. I left early in the morning, planning to drive all day and rest overnight at a familiar truck stop near Albuquerque. The day passed slowly, like any other trip. I listened to true crime podcasts, chewed gum to fight off drowsiness, and checked my mirrors every so often. Everything was normal until around 10 p.m. I was driving through a desert stretch in New Mexico, a long, lonely patch of I-40. The night was pitch black and my headlights barely carved out a weak path through the dark. There were no other cars. The radio was static, out of signal. Silence wrapped around me, broken only by the hum of the engine and the tires against the road. Then I saw it. A black sedan parked by the side of the road, a few hundred yards ahead. No emergency lights. Something about it didn't sit right. A feeling in my gut that said it shouldn't be there. Still, instinct and experience made me slow down. In this line of work, you don't just leave someone stranded in the middle of nowhere. As I got closer, I saw a man standing beside the car, waving his hand. He wore a dark baseball cap, black jacket, his face obscured by shadow. I dipped my headlights and pulled to the shoulder. Lowering my window, I called out, "Something wrong, buddy." He stood silent for a moment, then walked up and spoke in a hoarse voice. "My car broke down. Phone's dead. Can you give me a ride to the next stop?" I checked my phone. No signal. The next rest stop was over 30 miles away. I hesitated, then unlocked the passenger door. "Hop in." He climbed in without another word. For the next few miles, the air inside the cab grew heavy. I tried to break the silence. "What's your name?" "Derek." "Where you headed?" "California." "Same here. This trip's going to take me about 3 days." "Yeah." I glanced at him. He sat stiffly, hands in the pockets of his jacket, staring straight ahead. Something was off, but I couldn't quite pinpoint what. 10 minutes later, I saw a road sign. Next rest stop, 18 miles. I felt relief. I could pull over there, pretend to check my tires, or make a call, and maybe get help if something went wrong. Then Derek asked, "Ever seen someone get killed?" The question hit me like a slap. I kept my eyes on the road, trying to stay calm. "I've seen plenty of accident scenes," I replied. "Not something easy to forget." He chuckled softly. "I saw someone get killed once fast. Didn't even make a sound." I said nothing. Sweat began to gather at my hairline despite the AC running. I glanced at his jacket sleeve. His hand was still in his pocket. I couldn't stop thinking about knives, guns, all the worst-case scenarios playing out in my head. Just then, a semi passed in the opposite direction, its headlights sweeping across my side mirror, and I saw it again. That black sedan still parked by the roadside, but now, with a shattered windshield and what looked like blood smeared across the hood. I was sure I had driven away from it over 30 minutes ago. It couldn't be the same place. Checked the mirror again, but it had vanished into the darkness. I gripped the wheel harder. "That your car back there?" Derek didn't look at me. His voice was flat. "Not my car." "I thought you said it broke down." "Not my car." I almost slammed the brakes and kicked him out, but it was too dark and I couldn't risk turning my back on him. "So, whose car is it?" I asked, my throat dry. He turned to me for the first time, his face lit dimly by the dashboard glow. "No one's. Not anymore." I knew I was in danger. I kept calm, picked up speed slightly, aiming to reach the rest stop as quickly as possible. I started planning: stop in the light, get out, run into the convenience store, and don't look back. About 3 miles out, I quietly opened my phone. Still no signal. I opened my GPS and pretended to check the map. Derek didn't react. I carefully switched to the camera app and angled it back at him, recording. If I couldn't call for help, at least I'd have something on tape. I plugged the phone into the dock like I was charging it and let it keep filming. The Winslow rest stop came into view, a small travel center with gas pumps, vending machines, and bathrooms. I parked near the lights close to the entrance. There weren't many people around, just an RV and a silver pickup in the lot. I opened the door and forced a smile. "I need to use the bathroom. You coming?" Derek shook his head. "I'll stay in the truck. Don't be long." I nodded, stepped away slowly. Then once I was out of sight, I sprinted behind the gas station to where I saw a payphone. I grabbed the receiver. Deadline, not working. I turned back. Derek was out of the truck, watching me from across the lot. His hands were now out of his pockets. I ran. As I sprinted toward the pickup, I banged on the driver's side window. A middle-aged man jerked awake inside. "What the hell? I need help. There's a dangerous guy following me. Call the cops." He sat up, grabbing his phone. "Name's Rick. I'm calling now." I looked back. Derek was walking toward me, calm, slow, and steady. He wasn't even trying to hide anymore. Police arrived 15 minutes later, the longest minutes of my life. A cruiser from the nearest highway patrol station rolled in with 2 officers, one white, one Hispanic. They questioned me, listened carefully, and I showed them the recording on my phone. Derek didn't resist. Arrest. He simply raised his hands and asked one thing: "Do you have the footage?" "I want to see the part he recorded." The cops checked my truck and viewed the video. While the camera angle wasn't perfect, the audio was crystal clear. His questions about murder, the long silences, and his strange haunting tone. They detained him immediately. Another team was dispatched to search the abandoned black sedan. Just as I feared, they found a man's body in the trunk. Multiple stab wounds. His face was so disfigured they couldn't identify him at first. The news broke on local stations the next morning. A man's body found in a car abandoned near the New Mexico desert. A suspect is now in custody. I gave my statement, underwent a psychological evaluation, and was given a few weeks off after the incident. But the feeling didn't go away. That constant dread, that brush with something you can't quite explain. What haunted me most wasn't his eyes or his voice. It was his calmness. As if none of this was surprising. As if to him, life and death were just background noise on a long, silent road. 2 months later, I got a call from the police. "Daniel, this is Sergeant Clark from the Winslow incident. We've got some updates." "Yes." He confessed that the man in the trunk was an old acquaintance. He didn't deny it, but said it was part of the journey in you. I held my breath. He said, "I just needed one witness, someone to know I was real. Then I could disappear." I lowered the phone, my hand trembling. I had thought I was the lucky one who survived. But now I realized he never planned to kill me. He just wanted me to see, to remember, to be haunted by the road we shared for the rest of my life. My name is Mark Pfizer. I'm a long-haul truck driver, 42 years old, with over a decade behind the wheel on America's highways. Outsiders may think this job is boring, but those of us in it know it's lonely, risky, and full of moments that test your instincts. And then there was that one night, the night I still can't shake from my memory. It was a cold night in mid-April. I was hauling a load of electronics from New Jersey to a logistics center in Colorado. The farther west I drove, the colder it got. Snowflakes started drifting across the windshield as I climbed through the Appalachian Range. The road was slick, but traffic was light, so I kept a steady pace. Around 10:30 p.m., I stopped at a tiny roadside gas station. The place was deserted. I grabbed a cup of coffee and stood near a vending machine for a moment to warm up. That's when I heard a soft tap on the glass door. A man stood outside, tall and thin, wrapped in a dark hoodie, with the hood pulled low over his face. "My car broke down a few miles back," he said in a hoarse voice. "Been walking in the cold for hours. Can you give me a ride?" I looked around. The lot was empty. The station's lone employee was asleep behind the counter. Something in me hesitated. I should have said no, but the guy didn't look threatening, just tired, cold, and desperate. "Where you headed?" "Colorado," he answered quickly. I nodded. "I'm heading that way. Hop in. I'll drive a few more hours before resting." We didn't exchange names. He climbed into the passenger seat without another word. The silence was heavy. I turned on the radio. A news bulletin replayed in the background. "An armed suspect has fled after shooting a police officer at a checkpoint near Rockland County. The man is considered extremely dangerous and may be traveling by road." I glanced at the man. His hands were in his coat pockets, eyes straight ahead. I shut off the radio, switched to some old country tracks instead. He didn't say a word. No thanks, no questions, just silence. "You cold?" I asked, trying to break the ice. He nodded. "Walked all night. Thought I'd freeze out there." "What happened to your car?" "Engine died somewhere off a logging road. No signal." I asked a few more harmless questions. He gave short, dry replies. Not rude, just empty. Still, I couldn't shake a certain discomfort. Around midnight, I pulled over at a rest area, vending machines, and a public restroom. I told him I'd step out for a few minutes. He didn't answer or move. When I came back, he was sitting quietly, fiddling with something in his hands. A short length of paracord maybe, or a tension spring. He stuffed it into his coat when he saw me. I didn't ask. Just got in and kept driving. By 2 a.m., I decided to stop at a pull-off area beside the road and sleep for a few hours. I told him he could rest in the cab, but he shook his head. "I'll get off here. Nothing around here, man. You sure? Someone's picking me up." I nodded. Didn't argue. As he stepped down from the cab, I noticed a red stain on the hem of his coat. Could have been mud or something else. He disappeared into the darkness behind the rest stop. I locked the doors and tried to sleep. The next morning, around 6 a.m., I checked the news on my phone and froze. Front page headline on nearly every local outlet. Daniel Voss, 30, suspected cop killer and fugitive still at large. His face, the man I had just given a ride to. I read the report line by line. He had opened fire at a highway checkpoint, killing an officer. Fled the scene with a military weapon, last spotted near Rockland County, only a few dozen miles from where I picked him up. I was paralyzed. I remembered every second from the night before. His silence, the paracord in his hands, the stain on his coat. I had given a ride to a murderer, an armed fugitive. I called the police. They arrived at the rest area about an hour later, took my statement, and reviewed the truck's dash cam. Unfortunately, there wasn't a good shot of his face. They noted the time and GPS location, promised to update me if anything developed. They told me I was lucky, very lucky. Others hadn't lived to talk about encountering him. For the next 2 days, I followed every headline. Voss had continued fleeing through 3 states, constantly switching vehicles and changing appearances. He was reportedly seen in a stolen RV, later in a delivery van. Authorities traced him through gas station footage and credit card fraud. He was finally caught at a cheap motel in Colorado, less than 48 hours after I dropped him off. They found weapons, cash, and drugs. If I had asked too much, if I had questioned him more, if I had refused the ride, I might have disappeared on that snowy road. Just another unsolved missing case on some forgotten highway. I don't drive night routes alone anymore. I don't stop for strangers, no matter how cold or helpless they look, because now I know, sometimes the thing you're hauling down the highway isn't just cargo. My name is Evan Hale, 35 years old. I've been a long-haul truck driver for over a decade. For me, every interstate across this country has become just another pulse in a life spent behind the wheel. Steady, repetitive, emotionless, until one night, on a stretch of Interstate 90 through South Dakota, I witnessed something I wish I never had, and no matter how many miles I've driven since, I can't leave it behind. It was Wednesday, June 6th. I was hauling a load of furniture from Minneapolis to Billings, Montana, roughly 11 hours on the road. I got the assignment late, which meant I'd have to drive through the night to make my morning drop. Around 1:00 p.m., I stopped at a lonely gas station outside Wall. The place was quiet. Too quiet. Only one clerk half asleep behind the counter. I refueled, grabbed a coffee, stretched my back, and decided I'd drive a few more hours before resting. Just as I fired up the engine, a sedan tore into the parking lot. No headlights, tires screeching slightly. It parked sloppily like the driver had just escaped something. A man climbed out, white shirt, jeans, no bags. He looked around nervously, then jogged over to my cab. "Can you give me a lift?" he said, breathlessly. "I need to get to Rapid City. My car died. My phone's dead, too, please." I hesitated. Every trucker knows not to pick up strangers at night, but he didn't look dangerous, just panicked, desperate, only too rapid. I said, "Thank you." He climbed in without a second thought. I pulled out onto the highway, maintaining speed. The cab was silent. I glanced over at him. Mid-30s, unkempt hair, deep circles under his eyes, shirt damp with sweat. "Your car broke down?" I asked. "Must have. It just died on me in the middle of the road. No signal out there." I coasted it to the station, but then the lights cut out, too. I nodded. Nothing more was said. 15 minutes later, something started to feel off. I glanced at my rearview mirror. The same sedan he claimed was dead was following us. Same model, same cracked fender. I narrowed my eyes. "Didn't you say your car died?" The man beside me froze, then softly, "That's not my car." "Then whose?" "Listen," he interrupted, his voice a whisper. "My name's Tom. I work maintenance security for a temporary federal checkpoint near Route 16. Something went wrong tonight." I didn't answer. He continued. "A man came through. Something didn't match in his records. Not fake ID, flag data, level 4 surveillance." He bolted, took off in an unregistered black SUV. He was armed. My mouth went dry. "And you think that's him behind us?" "I know it is. I tried to lose him. 3 turns, 2 side roads. Then I got to that station and saw you. That's when I ditched the car, but it wouldn't start again. So, I found you. I stared at the road, and now he's following my truck." Tom didn't respond. His silence was answer enough. I tried something. I flicked my right blinker and pulled into a side road, slowing down. The sedan followed, slowed too. I twisted the wheel hard, spun us back toward the highway. The car hesitated, a moment, then followed. "He's not giving up," I muttered. "He won't. He doesn't leave witnesses." That line hit me like ice water. "You're saying he's killed before?" Tom didn't answer. I gritted my teeth. "We need a police station. Closest one is in Rapid City, about 80 miles. Great. Just great. The middle of nowhere. Pitch black forest on either side. No backup." At 1:45 a.m., a loud pop shattered the silence. The truck shook hard. I swerved and managed to keep it steady. "What the hell was that?" Tom shouted. I pulled off to the shoulder. We jumped out. Rear left tire completely slashed, clean cut, surgical. I looked up. The sedan was parked 100 yards back, headlights still on. No one stepped out. Tom's voice was shaking. He must have done it earlier back at the station when I went in for water. I cursed under my breath. We weren't going anywhere. I tried calling 911. No service. Tried again and again. Finally, one bar, 911. What's your emergency? This is Evan Hale. I'm on I-90, around mile 213. Truck's been tampered with. Someone's tailing me. Might be armed. There's a patrol unit 25 miles from you. Try to remain in your vehicle and keep the doors locked. We climbed back in. I killed the lights. The sedan sat there, then rolled forward slowly, heading straight toward us. Do you have a weapon? I asked. Tom shook his head. I dug through my glove box and pulled out a dull utility knife. Practically useless. The sedan stopped 10 meters away. Then nothing. No one exited. No sounds. Just the distant rumble of its idling engine. 10 minutes passed. Then flashing red and blue in the distance. The sedan's lights went dark. It reversed, spun, and tore off into the night. The patrol caught up minutes later. We filed statements. They examined the tire, reviewed footage from my dashcam, and confirmed Tom's story. The man he described matched Lawrence Grant, a former intelligence analyst gone rogue, flagged on multiple lists, but never captured. Until now, no one had lived to tell this story. Tom was taken into protective custody. I finished the trip the next afternoon, but I wasn't the same. A day later, I got a text from an unknown number. 4 words. Thanks for surviving this, Tom. I stared at it for a long time, then looked out across the horizon, where the sun was just starting to rise. But no matter how bright the morning seemed that night, the one where dawn almost didn't come, never left.